Welcome to my beautiful Unschool life, the YouTube channel where I show you the messy reality of learning how to grow my own food and build my own home and homeschool my own kids. Today I want to talk to you about cooking. In my tiny house, most of my cooking is done on this wood stove. This is my third winter in the tiny house, so I've had 3 years worth of practice cooking on this wood stove, and I'm still terrible at it. It's a really, really difficult learning curve, learning how to cook on a wood stove. You have to learn about the wood, you have to learn about the dynamics of heat, and it's never the same thing twice. It's a little extra complicated for me because I don't cook here every time. Sometimes I cook in my boyfriend's house, which is just 200 feet across the lawn. So I'm not really learning full time. If I was forced to only cook on the wood stove, I would probably have gotten better at it more quickly. But I'm also kind of glad because I'm really limited in the number of things that I can cook on this stove, whereas when I have access to a real kitchen, there are a lot more things that I can cook. So this video is all about learning how to cook on this big, beautiful beast. Enjoy. Something that I never cook at my house is when I make my own yogurt. I always do it at Dawn's house. There's two reasons. One, standing in front of my stove and stirring something constantly is very uncomfortable. It's very, very uncomfortable. And that's what you have to do with yogurt. You have to stir it non-stop to keep the milk from burning to the bottom. But you have to keep the stove, I would have to keep the stove really hot and stand in front of it the whole time. It's extremely uncomfortable. And then to incubate the yogurt, I use a dehydrator. I would be really interested to see if I could incubate the yogurt in the warming tray of my wood stove. But it's very hard to keep the temperature in there steady, and I have literally never tried. I bet you it's a skill that I could develop if I needed to, but since I have to keep the yogurt in Dawn's fridge anyways, I've just made yogurt a thing that happens in Dawn's house. If I want to have yogurt for breakfast on the days when I'm eating breakfast at my house, I come to Dawn's, I make the whole breakfast here, I take the whole breakfast back to Dawn's. Because the granola lives in Dawn's house. It could live in my house easily. The granola is not a problem, but the frozen berries live in Dawn's freezer, and the yogurt lives in Dawn's fridge. So it's a breakfast that I really only have at his house. So I posted in a previous video that in my house we use powdered milk because we don't have a fridge, so it's just easier for us to make milk as we need it and only make as much as we need, and then we don't have to worry about it going rotten in my cooler because my cooler is at like 10 degrees and milk would not survive very well in there. And I said that I grew up on powdered milk, so it tastes normal to me and it tastes normal to my kids, so we don't really mind that. But when it comes to making yogurt, the type of milk you use does really make a difference. I have made yogurt with powdered milk, and it's okay. It's just a bit runnier than you would normally want yogurt to be. I have settled on using 3%. It's called Homo milk here. I don't know if it's called that in other places. I was once farm sitting for a friend that had a dairy cow, and I used raw milk to make yogurt. And obviously, the process of making yogurt pasteurizes the milk, but I tell you, that yogurt was the best yogurt I've ever made. So the milk you use for yogurt does make a difference. But in a pinch, if it's all you have, powdered skim milk will work just fine, as long as you don't mind your yogurt being a little bit runny. I like to use the 2-liter boxes because a 2-liter box perfectly fills 2 of these jars, which is about 2 weeks worth of yogurt for Dawn and I. Wow, that's a big difference. So you have to make sure when you're making yogurt not to eat it all, because you need a 1/4 cup. I need a 1/4 cup of yogurt for each of these jars, because the bacteria from your old yogurt is what creates your new yogurt. I don't measure it, and yeah, that has backfired a few times. There's been a couple of times where the yogurt didn't work, and I don't know why, and it could be because I didn't measure it. It's definitely possible. That's a bit cooler than I want it to be, but whatever. I'm not a perfectionist. Alright, so you want to make sure that it's at that setting there. And that'll be ready in like 12 hours. Which is easier than when I used powdered milk. I found I had to leave it in for 24 hours. So that's one perk of using more expensive milk. Okay, so it is breakfast time. The girls are making their own breakfast. I haven't had breakfast yet. I want to get dinner on the wood stove first because the wood stove takes all day to cook. So today I'm making chicken noodle soup because everybody's sick. So I have my own bone broth that I made. Every time we cook a roast a chicken or roast a duck or roast a rabbit, we save the bones and we make bone broth. So this is bone broth made from chicken carcasses. And also anytime I cook a chicken, we raise our chickens up nice and big. I like a good 9-pound chicken because it's enough to make a dinner and then to have leftovers for 2 or 3 or 4 meals. So I always put leftovers individual portioned in the freezer. So this is some meat from one of our chickens. Next I have onion. This is not one of our onions. I did grow onions this year. This was my first year growing onions and they came out really, really, really good. But because it was my first year, I didn't do a lot. So we're already out of the onions that I grew. And ditto with garlic. This is not my garlic. I did grow garlic. It turned out really good, but we've used it all already. It was my first time growing garlic, but we've used it already. So this is garlic that Dawn's mom grew. This is my celery that I'm using, and I do have carrots, but they're trapped in the garden. So if you live in a place where the ground doesn't freeze, you can overwinter your carrots in the garden. You can just leave them there and harvest them as you need them. I'm just waiting. I'm being patient. Listen, you. So in previous years, this is only like my 5th year with a big garden. In most winters that I've had since I started gardening, it never freezes for more than 2 weeks at a time. So your carrots you just have to wait for a couple of weeks and then you can harvest your carrots. But this winter, it's been freezing nonstop for 6 weeks. So my carrots are trapped in the garden. So I had to go buy carrots. And then the noodles. I am not a make your own noodle person. Maybe I will venture into that world when I have a real kitchen. But in this kitchen, I buy noodles. So, chicken noodle soup. I'm a terrible YouTuber. I forgot to film the rest of this. So Abby, just about 10 minutes before we ate it, Abby added the noodles. I used egg noodles, and she also added corn because Abby's addicted to corn and wants corn in everything, and probably drank the corn juice from the bottom of the can. So here we go. How does it taste, Abby? What do you think?
Good.
How's it taste, Bethany? What do you think? It's not too spicy for you?
I need it to be spicier.
You need it to be spicier? And that's what it is to be a mom. Your kids never want the same thing.
Okay, I think this is good enough spice. Maybe just a bit more, but I think this is good enough.
Should I ask your opinion, Dawn? What do you think?
Yeah, it tastes like soup.
Well, thanks. That's a great compliment.
Everything you make is delicious.
You're well trained. You're such a good boy. Today, I am roasting a chicken. One of my chickens that we grew this past year. I'm going to roast it in my wood stove. This will only be the second time that I have ever roasted a chicken in my wood stove. Now, the chicken has been defrosting in Dawn's fridge. So right now I'm in Dawn's house. And since I'm here, I'm going to do the rinsing and the oil and the seasoning of the chicken in Dawn's kitchen because he has running water. It's a lot easier to be hygienic in a kitchen that has running water than it is in my kitchen. So I'm going to get the chicken started in Dawn's kitchen, and then I'll take it to my house and cook it at my house, and we will eat at my house tonight. Wish me luck. Do I wish Dawn's kitchen was cleaner? Yes. Yes, I do wish Dawn's kitchen was cleaner. And I do clean it on a regular basis, but I am not his housekeeper, and he is not employed right now, so I'm not taking responsibility for this. Love it if you took off. I just uploaded a video where I talk all about the animals on this farm, and I realized as I was editing that when I talked about these two cats, I didn't have anything nice to say about them. They are nice cats, but look at this. I could kick them off this counter 700 times and they will still be back up here. They are so food obsessed. I cannot leave any food unattended for even a couple of seconds and they will steal it. They're really lovely. They're really lovely cats. They're very sweet. Cole in particular is a real cuddle puss. But yeah, I do find it difficult saying nice things about them. Onion, she's back in the sink. It's been literally 20 seconds. They are both being kicked out. So, I feel a little bit stressed about this for two reasons. So I feel a little bit stressed about doing the chicken in my wood stove because I've only done it once before and it didn't go very well. I had it in the oven by 9 a.m. I think, and it wasn't ready until 8 p.m. And I would really like to not have dinner at 8:30 at night. So it's already 10. So I'm stressing out a little bit that it's not going to be ready in time. The reason I'm so slow going today is because the girls only got back from their dad's last night and they're just miserable train wrecks. And trying to get them moving this morning was a disaster. They haven't had breakfast yet. I have. The last I saw them, they were out doing chores, and I just left them there doing chores because they were taking too long. and I didn't have all day. So hopefully they have finished chores and they're now at home making their breakfast. So something that has been really important to me is making them independent so that they don't need me there to make breakfast. They don't need me there to make lunch. They can handle it themselves. And they're basically at that point now where they can do breakfast and lunch themselves without my help. And the reason is that I just have too much going on. I'm doing too much. I'm doing chores. I'm usually in the garden first thing in the morning until it gets too hot to work in the garden. So it's important to me that they're able to do things without me. But not just for that. Just I want them to be capable, independent, competent human beings. And I know a lot of kids these days don't know how to do anything for themselves. And then they move out of their house and go off to university and they don't even know how to buy toilet paper. It's important to me that my kids know how to do things for themselves. And I also think that it's extra important because it's so hard for my kids. Because they are ADHD and they get easily distracted and they forget to pay attention to what they're doing. It's even more important to me that they start practicing early because I think, especially with an ADHD brain, repetition is really, really important. So anyways, I'm not supposed to be talking about my kids in this video. I'm supposed to be talking about cooking on a wood stove. I got the chicken out of the freezer like 5 days ago. That's how long it takes to thaw in the fridge. And luckily today is a really cold day. And that means that I can run my stove nice and hot without it being miserable in there. So it's a really good day for roasting a chicken. So right now I'm making stuffing for the chicken. I wasn't really sure if I was gonna make stuffing or not, but Bethany really loves it, so I'll make it for Bethany. This is my mom's recipe. She made the saltine cracker stuffing. It is not Dawn's favorite. Dawn prefers bread stuffing, but and that is what I did for Christmas. I did bread stuffing. But generally, this is the one that I like to make because it's my favorite and it's Bethany's favorite. And when I'm doing the cooking, I get to make my favorite thing. And here's the thing. I'm not teaching you how to cook. I don't teach people how to do anything except for make mistakes. I have a confession. And that is that I actually hate cooking. I had someone when I confessed that I hate sewing, someone commented on my video that I hate it because I'm not good at it, and if I got good at it, then I wouldn't hate it. And in theory, I agree. That is true. But when it comes to cooking, it's not true. I'm actually a very good cook. I cook very good food, but I do not enjoy it. I find it to be such a chore that you have to make 3 meals a day every single day for your entire adult life. No. It's too much work for me. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't like being in the kitchen. I don't like planning meals. What I like is eating. You can't tell by how skinny I am, but I really, 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 really love food, and I'm poor and I can't afford to eat out. So I cook my own food because I really love eating my own food. I don't love cooking my own food. I think part of the thing is also I just don't like being in the kitchen. I like being outside. Maybe if I had a really beautiful kitchen that had a view of outside and was full of lots of plants and flowers and things, maybe then I wouldn't dislike the kitchen so much. But for the most part, the problem is I just don't like being in the house. So this is not a video teaching you how I cook. This is not a video sharing my recipes with you. I don't think I will ever be that kind of channel because I do not have the confidence in my cooking and I do not have the passion for cooking. I made some bread a little while ago and Dawn was like, your bread is so good, you should sell it at the farmer's market. I'm like, no, I don't even like making bread for myself. You know, I'm not gonna make bread for other people. It's just not gonna happen. The way I cook is usually fast and messy. I'm a little bit reckless and I'm not I'm a bit of an experimenter. Like I just throw stuff in, which sometimes backfires completely. There's a lot of onion in this. I think Bethany's gonna not like it as much as usual because that was a big onion and I probably shouldn't have used the whole thing, but I am busy talking to you. That means I wasn't really paying attention to what I'm doing. All right. Like right now, for instance, I've never done this with the chicken. I've never done it exactly this way. Sometimes I put on, there's just something called Montreal chicken seasoning, or there's something called just poultry seasoning. I'll use those mixes, but I don't have any of those right now, so I'm just putting some parsley and some sage and some salt and some pepper on it, which are the same seasonings that are in the stuffing. So if it tastes good in the chicken, I'm sure it'll taste good on the chicken. All right, now I'll take it home. Oops, the lid doesn't fit. Whatever, it'll be fine. I'm gonna take it home, stick it in my oven. Is it a pain in the butt that my fridge is a 200-foot walk in minus 20 degrees to my stove? Yeah, it is a pain in the butt. But on the plus side, I get lots of fresh air and exercise, and I get to listen to the birds singing. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. Okay, so to cook on my wood stove, this thermometer out here is always too high. I estimate it's about 100 degrees too high. So I have a separate thermometer down there, and it's always too low because it's at the bottom of my oven. And when I'm cooking in the oven, I need to push my pan all the way to the back because that is the warmest spot. Now, I already, so this lever here, what this does is, when it's in this position, the smoke from the firebox goes straight up and straight out the chimney. But when I switch it in this direction, it redirects the smoke around the oven and then out the chimney. So if I know that I'm going to be, cooking in the oven, I will switch this over first thing in the morning to give it a whole lot of time to heat the oven up. And then I will make sure that there's always lots of small pieces of wood in the burn box. I will not leave the damper. This is an open damper. It's going to get way too hot in the house if I leave that open all day. So I'm going to leave it almost closed. This is closed tight. That's what I do at night. I'm going to leave it just open just a little bit. I have learned that putting something to cook on my stove and then leaving for the day is really risky because the stove is very unpredictable. The weather outside has a huge effect on what happens in the wood stove. The type of wood I'm using has a huge effect on what happens in the wood stove. Maybe after a lifetime of using it, I would have more of an instinct about it. And I am getting more of an instinct about it. But I can never really predict what's going to happen. Like if the wind shifts to a different direction, that's going to cause a different kind of draw on my chimney, and that's going to make the wood stove cook differently. So I could leave in the morning and it's set for the weather that we have, but if the weather shifts while I'm gone, then, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. Okay, it is now 6 o'clock, so the chicken has been in the oven for 7.5 hours. I don't expect it's going to be cooked, but I'm going to take it out and take its temperature and see what it says. Now, despite my earlier insistence that it's not a good idea to leave the stove unattended all day when it's cooking, we did just spend like 2 hours in the bush with Don helping him harvest wood. So I erred on the side of the caution. I loaded the wood stove pretty full with small pieces, and I left the damper open a lot farther than I normally would, which means it's really hot right now. The thermometer here says we're just over 30, probably about 33 degrees, which is 90 in Fahrenheit. And my humidity level is pretty low. So I'm going to get my meat thermometer and I'm going to pull this chicken out and I'm going to see what it says. Veggies look good. So the thermometer in my oven now says 200. So I got it nice and warm. Looks pretty good. Okay, 150. That's close. It needs to be 160. So that's pretty good. So these veggies, it is potatoes and carrots and butternut squash. And I'm just cooking them in chicken broth. Usually when I do a roast in an oven, I cook the veggies in with the chicken so that they all cook together in one pot. But when I tried doing that in the wood stove the last time, the veggies got really dried out and they were not nice at all. So I'm trying something completely different. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. I'm just making it up as I go. So I thought I would cook the veggies in some bone broth so they would stay nice and moist. And we'll see. Hopefully they taste good. Okay, that's still pretty hard. So I think I might try cooking them on the stovetop for a little while. The stovetop obviously gets a lot hotter than the oven. So we'll leave that there and see what happens. I hope it tastes good. There's nothing more fun than putting loads of effort into a meal and getting your house ridiculously hot just for the meal to taste terrible. So it's 45 minutes later. The veggies are done. The liquid boiled on the stovetop. So they look really good. They're ready to go. Chicken, on the other hand, is only at 149, which is a little frustrating since it was at 150 45 minutes ago. I find the temperature in that's usually the weak spot, is right in the hip joint. And sure enough, it's not warm enough.
Someone out. It fell out. I need to pee.
It is now 8 o'clock. It's been 2 hours since I last checked it when it said it was 1:50. So I'm getting a bit frustrated. Abby's so hungry that she's making popcorn.
I just wanted popcorn. I was gonna have popcorn no matter what.
Yeah.
I love popcorn.
Alright, let's give it a go, see what it says.
I hear it.
Oh my god. 152.
Oh my god.
Oh, 154. That's it. That's all she wrote.
156.
Oh. Well, the breast is cooked. So if we're okay with eating just breast and wings,
Stuffing?
I don't know about the stuffing, dude. When I stick it into the stuffing, it's only 155.
What about the legs?
Oh my god. Never again. Never again, never again. We'll eat this part. And this will go back in the oven. Alright, so honest review.
It sucks.
Did I ask you? Alright then, honest review, Bethany.
Veggie sucks. Meat sucks. The bun's nice.
The buns that I made in Dawn's oven.
Chicken's good.
Yeah, chicken's good.
It's great.
Chicken's good.
I like the skin. I like the skin very, very much.
Vegetables needed salt and pepper, and they're all right.
Yeah. They're not, the last time they were really dry. That's definitely improvement over the last time.
I love the skin.
You love the skin?
I ate the skin and the meat.
Okay.
The only thing I don't like is the
Yeah, I know you want stuffing. There will be stuffing eventually. If I were to do this again.
You would use my oven. We need to see whether or not we can raise the chicken up a little higher, and maybe a higher portion of the oven will be hotter, and maybe it will cook better.
And a smaller chicken.
And yes, definitely. I think the max in there would probably be closer to a 4 or 5, maybe 6 pound at max. But
What if I...
8 was too much.
What if I put it in the oven the night before? Then my house would be seriously intensively hot. I wouldn't be able to sleep.
What about the day before?
Yeah. It would be hot.
And it might get too dry.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's not dry now. Like, it tastes good. It just took 9.5 hours and it's still not done.
Yeah.
Like a bit of it is done.
So it is 9 p.m. and I am walking home from Dawn's. I took the chicken and he took the veggies. The veggies are going to go in his fridge and the chicken is going to go in his oven and he's going to finish cooking it at his house. So attempt number 2 at roasting a chicken in my oven was almost exactly the same as attempt number 1. Actually, that's not true. The veggies were much improved. So it'll probably be a while before I talk myself into trying again, because that was really unfortunate and frustrating. And we don't get very many days where it's minus 20. So yeah, onward and upward. So hot off my epic failure with the roast chicken. This morning for breakfast, we are going to try and make waffles on the wood stove. I've never done this before. Usually to make waffles, I use a waffle maker. But earlier this year, Dawn and I were at an antique market and I found this beautiful antique waffle maker that makes...
Wouldn't that just poke holes in your waffles?
We'll find out. Makes heart-shaped.
Supposed to have holes in it?
They're supposed to have dents, yeah. I'm going to assume that those spikes do not touch each other. Right? So it was really, really rusty. I spent yesterday giving it some really good scrubs, and then I seasoned it. It has been seasoning since last night on the wood stove. Normally seasoning is supposed to be done in the oven, but I don't have a lot of faith in my oven right now, so I decided to do it on the wood stove, which may or may not have been a good idea. The oil spilled all over the wood stove. I keep these cloths in here. These are my cloths for wiping the wood stove. They've never had soap on them or anything. They're mostly just covered with oil and soot. But whenever the oil has leaked out of this pan while it was seasoning, I've just rubbed it around. So the whole wood stove has been seasoned. Ha! And it looks really pretty and shiny. And it means that if my waffle mix spills on the wood stove, it won't stick because the stove has been oiled. So the first step to cooking on the wood stove is getting it nice and hot. So I have to open the damper all the way and put in lots of small pieces of wood. Damper is open and okay, waffle iron is starting to steam. Kettle is starting to boil. So I think it's ready to go. I am not using anything fancy. I'm just using Costco waffle mix because I am increasing my difficulty level one step at a time. So we'll we'll see how it goes with this. Wish me luck.
I've said it many times, I know I would change my ways, I know for sure. When all the crows
A couple of minutes. It's steaming nicely.
they settle down beneath my
I don't think I want to open it quite yet. I mean, I do want to open it. I think it's too early. I have no idea. You're hungry? Yeah, I've never done this before, so I don't know how long it's gonna take. Alright, I don't know if it's ready yet, but I'm gonna flip it. So there's supposed to be a big long wooden handle on this thing. Well, let me do it the first time, okay, Abby? Cool. It is pretty. I hope it works. Well, Abby, I think it might be ready. Do you want to look? It's beautiful!
I want it!
Alright, let me close it for a second.
Is the house on mine?
You want the whole thing?
Okay, not the whole thing, but the half of it.
You want half of it? Bethany, you want some waffle? Oh, it's nice and fluffy. Oh, they're so pretty. So they break apart into smaller waffles when you take them out. But they look really good. Awesome. I'm really happy with this. It's really cool.
The only thing that was for me, and I saw the angels coming down, and they sang a song, they sang it loud, and I still remember parts of it, and the yellow glow.
You decided that they are still weird.
Won't you be my guiding light?
So my kettle has boiled. The stove is really hot, so I'm turning the damper down a little bit. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I'm just making it up as I go. My initial excitement is dampened by the discovery that apparently I did not get all of the problematic materials out of the pan. I don't know if that's rust or if that's the finish of the pan that's coming off in the waffles. Looks a bit shiny to be rust.
Mom, can you kill the ant?
So I'm gonna just keep cooking in it until they come out clean and hope that we don't die from some sort of toxic metal poisoning. So this is the 5th round that I've done with this thing, and you can see it's coming off even more than it was before, and this is slowly starting to turn black. So I'm starting to wonder if maybe someone painted it with gold paint to make it look pretty. When I Googled it, I tried to find a similar version of it online, and they were all black. None of them were gold like this. So I'm thinking maybe someone thought that painting it was a good idea when actually painting it was a really bad idea. So we are not eating pancakes this morning. Yeah,
Waffles.
Another failure. Sorry, we are not eating waffles this morning. Another failure on wood stove cooking this week. But it is really pretty and it's really easy to use. The waffles turned out really nice if you ignore the paint. So we're having cereal for breakfast now, and I guess I'm going to get a wire brush or some paint remover or something to try and see what I can do with that thing. I am so good at making videos about failure, aren't I? Aren't I really good? Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you next time.
I've said it many times, I know I would change my ways, I know for sure. When all the crows decide to leave, they settle down beneath my feet. I've got it right and I got it wrong, but I learned my lesson